Okay, a rabbit in the Cambrian. I decided to make a video on the topic because this is one of the top arguments used by evolution. So, when we creationists claim that evolution is unfalsifiable, one of the top argument, one of the top answers that evolutionists give is, well, if you find a rabbit in the Cambrian, that will falsify evolution. Therefore, evolution is falsifiable. Or even when talking about predictions, evolutionists say, well, we predict that we won't find rabbits in the Cambrian. So, since no one has ever found a rabbit in the Cambrian, that means that we evolutionists made a correct prediction. But you know what? That's not a prediction in the first place. The fossil record was discovered long before evolution was even proposed. So the fossil record was discovered long before Darwin. So, since long before Darwin, scientists knew which fossils were found in which layers, and they knew that there are no rabbits in the Cambrian. So, when Darwin proposed evolution, he already knew that there are no rabbits in the Cambrian. So he made the tree of life based on that concept that was already known. So that's not a prediction, that's a postdiction. So no, you didn't predict that. With you, I mean evolutionists. You didn't predict that we won't find rabbits in the Cambrian. That was something that everybody knew since long before Darwin. And it is true, for example, that we find, let's say, for example, trilobites in the lower layers and rabbits in the upper layers. But if things will have been the other way around, then evolutionists will simply change the tree of life. You will simply change the order in which things were supposed to evolve. So, it's not a prediction. You made the tree of life based on something that everybody knew. So it's not a prediction, it's a postdiction. Number two, and this is probably the most important argument against the rabbit in the Cambrian claim, or whatever. The Cambrian is marine strata. So why would we find a rabbit, a land animal, a land mammal, in marine strata? So, asking for a rabbit in the Cambrian is nonsense. It's extremely unlikely to find a land mammal in the Cambrian, in marine strata. So, we don't need evolution to explain the lack of rabbits in the Cambrian. The lack of rabbits in the Cambrian can be explained by simple common sense. So, whether evolution is correct or not, it is still unlikely to find rabbits in the Cambrian. So, not finding rabbits in the Cambrian is to be expected, even without evolution. And we don't even need a global flood to explain the lack of rabbits in the Cambrian. We don't even need a model. We simply need common sense. So, I still don't. Evolutionists are not aware of this. Of course, we don't find rabbits in the Cambrian because the Cambrian is marine strata and rabbits are land animals. It's as simple as that. And number three, even if we do find a rabbit in the Cambrian, that will not falsify evolution. There are hundreds and hundreds of out-of-place fossils, and with out-of-place fossils, I mean that fossils that are found in layers that are not supposed to be according to a theory of evolution. Just Google out-of-place fossils, you will find hundreds of examples of out-of-place fossils. For example, Michael Cremo, he reported hundreds of man-made artifacts and human fossils that are much older than what evolution predicts. And this includes, for example, artifacts from the Precambrian, for example. So, if this doesn't falsify evolution, then a rabbit in the Cambrian won't falsify evolution either, meaning that the original claim, which is evolution is unfalsifiable, is still a valid claim. Because evolution is not falsifiable, or at least a rabbit in the Cambrian won't falsify evolution. You will find a way to explain the evidence away. For example, there is pollen in the Precambrian, and evolutionists say, well, this is due to contamination. Well, okay, uh, I mean maybe, but that that doesn't refute my point. Evolution is unfalsifiable. For example, there are humans that are in layers that are dated 150 million years old, and Doc Origins claims that, well, this is due to a modern burial. Well, of course this is possible. I mean people bury their dead, so it's likely to find modern humans in all the layers. But if we find a rabbit in the Cambrian, you will probably make the exact same argument. I mean, you will say, well, it was someone's pet and he decided to bury his rabbit. Or you're gonna say, well, we find the rabbit in the Cambrian due to contamination. Or, or maybe ancient rabbits dug deeper holes. So this one rabbit happened to die in the deepness of the hole, and that was in the Cambrian. So, I mean, these are basically my three arguments against the typical rabbit in the Cambrian claim that evolutionists use. The first one is, it's not a prediction. I mean, it's a postdiction. So you cannot claim that evolutionists predict that, because it is not a prediction. So, I mean, be honest. Number two, why would we find a land animal in marine strata? And number three, even if we do find a rabbit in the Cambrian, that wouldn't falsify evolution, because out of place fossils have been found and they don't contradict evolution. So that's about it. Have a nice day.